Hi everyone, I'm Shireen and I'd like to thank APEC for giving me the opportunity to talk about the upcoming CaPE trial, which is calcium supplementation for prevention of preeclampsia in high-risk women. I don't need to remind this audience about the impact preeclampsia can have on the health of the mother and her baby, but it does continue to affect around 1 in 30 pregnant women in the UK and have a significant impact on NHS resources. And because delivery remains the only cure, it's really important to find effective preventative interventions. Numerous interventions have been evaluated in randomized trials, but we know the only one that's currently recommended is low-dose aspirin because of its modest effects on reduction of preeclampsia and its complications. There has been interest in calcium as a preventative intervention for some time now, and a Cochrane review with 13 good quality trials and over 15,000 women shows that calcium reduces the risk of preeclampsia, preterm birth, and a composite of maternal mortality and serious morbidity. Based on this data, the WHO does recommend calcium supplementation for prevention of preeclampsia in women who have a low baseline intake of calcium. Despite this evidence, NICE does not recommend calcium for preeclampsia prevention in the UK, and the reason for that is that most calcium trials have been done in low-risk women with low dietary calcium intake. Findings from the Cochrane review have not been viewed as applicable to a population with adequate calcium intake, such as the UK, because subgroup analysis showed that for women with adequate calcium intake, the effects of calcium in reducing the risk of preeclampsia are unclear and did not reach statistical significance. And although the Cochrane review suggests that there is maximum benefit for high-risk women, the trial data is limited to under 600 women, and the risk factors used to define high-risk women are no longer used in clinical practice. So NICE highlighted the need for further research to assess the clinical and cost effectiveness of calcium in high-risk women for preventing preeclampsia, and HTA put out a commissioned call for such a trial. So the CaPE trial was developed in response to that commissioned call. It's funded by HTA, the University of Birmingham is the sponsor, and Birmingham Women's Hospital is the host organisation. The co-applicants are listed on the screen as you see, and they come from a range of specialties. It's great to have Professor Lucy Chappell as part of the team and Marcus Green from A.Pec to provide that really important PPI input. The primary objective of the trial is to compare the effectiveness of calcium supplementation plus standard care, which includes aspirin, with standard care alone for preventing preeclampsia. The secondary objectives include assessing the impact of calcium on other important outcomes for the mother and baby, assessing its cost effectiveness, assessing how well women are able to adhere to the calcium, and we will also be looking to see whether there are particular subgroups of women who benefit more from calcium compared to others. CaPE is a parallel-arm, triple-blind, placebo-controlled randomized trial with one-to-one randomization using random variable block sizes. We will be using minimization based on a number of factors, and there is an internal pilot for the first 12 months to check our assumptions about recruitment, sample size, and adherence. Women are eligible for the CaPE trial if they are eligible for aspirin therapy for prevention of preeclampsia based on the NICE guideline criteria, which I think we're quite familiar with, the 1 high risk factor or 2 or more moderate risk factors for preeclampsia. They also have to be over the age of 16 and able to provide informed consent as per MHRA regulations. Exclusion criteria is based on reducing the risk of hypercalcemia in women, either because of background medical problems or if they're taking regular calcium or are on regular high doses of vitamin D. There are certain drug interactions that need to be avoided as well. Women in the intervention group will receive 2 grams of calcium plus standard care, and women in the control group will have placebo with standard care. The IMP can be commenced any time from 12 to 22 weeks and is to be taken until delivery. We discussed the dose of calcium at length and decided to go with the higher dose because previous studies showed that that dose seemed to have the best efficacy and was still safe for women who had a adequate baseline intake of calcium. So the formulation we went with was Calci-Chew because they make 1 gram tablets, and these are to be taken twice a day. PPI input suggested that chewable tablets were preferable to those that you swallow because calcium tablets can be quite large. And calcium can have a chalky taste, but our formulation has an orange flavor, which should hopefully make it more acceptable to women. The outcomes for the trial are based on the pre-eclampsia core outcome set, and the primary outcome is the incidence of pre-eclampsia. The sample size is based on a 90% power to detect a 20% relative risk reduction in pre-eclampsia from 11.5 to 9.2% in this high-risk group. And we felt that even a small 20% risk reduction would be clinically meaningful, given that calcium is inexpensive, it's safe, and it's easily accessible. But it does mean that this is going to be a large trial, and we aim to recruit 7,756 women. Secondary outcomes include a range of mortality and morbidity measures for both the mother and baby, and are listed on the screen as you see. We will be doing a health economics evaluation as part of the trial. We'll also be doing a baseline dietary calcium intake survey to see what proportion of pregnant women in the UK have adequate calcium intake, and we're going to be using this information to do a subgroup analysis to see if calcium has a differential effect in women who have adequate calcium intake compared to those who don't. We'll be checking for adherence to calcium via text messages, and there's potential to do long-term follow-up studies because we will be getting consent for data linkage studies. The study procedures for CaPE are reasonably straightforward. Screening for eligible women shouldn't be difficult because they are the same group of women who will be screened for aspirin therapy for prevention of pre-eclampsia, which is now part of routine antenatal care across hospitals in the UK. The consent and randomization can be done anytime between 12 and 22 weeks, which may coincide with their booking visit or the anomaly scan when women tend to attend hospital. At randomization, the baseline dietary calcium intake survey will be given and is quite simple and takes about 3 minutes to complete. We will also provide the full supply of IMP at the beginning of the trial, and that will be either 4 bottles of calcium or placebo. And after that, women will go on to have routine antenatal care, and outcome data will be collected after hospital discharge or up to 4 weeks post-term, whichever is sooner. The current COVID situation hasn't required us to make any significant changes to our protocol, and CaPE is designated as a green or viable study. There may be a small group of women who are only having remote consultations, and for them there may be a need to make some adaptations. This may include remote confirmation of eligibility, electronic consent forms or posting out of consent forms, and posting out of IMP, but this is unlikely to impact the vast majority of women. The grant initiation is planned from this month. There's a 6-month study setup phase, after which we will start recruiting from May next year. The trial will run over 4.5 years, and we're planning on recruiting from 40 maternity units across the UK. The target is to recruit 8 women per centre per month to achieve our sample size in that time, but hopefully that shouldn't be difficult with the broad eligibility criteria. We are currently looking for expression of interest from sites that want to participate in CaPE. I know there's some uncertainty in many hospital trusts about research priorities at present, but if you are interested, please do get in touch with us on the email on the slide, and we hope to hear from as many of you as possible. And thank you very much for your attention.